Yeah, thank you, Talila. Maybe it will be very interesting for Sarah to know about this session and for the MOFET session. Thank you very much.
Okay, so welcome, and I'm happy to host you here in the advanced course for learning, teaching, and curating. My former student and close friend, Marta Valls, invests her breakdown energy in a daily drawing. Marta places her family members and friends in front of their beloved artworks. We are all longing to visit our favorite museums. We are missing intimate moments with inspiring pictures. I was so happy to find myself in front of Henry Moore's sculpture. She posts every day in her Facebook, so it was a surprise. Sometimes we like to enjoy the museum by ourselves. Sometimes we are seeking social activity. The game that we'll create in this course will enable you to empower individuals as well as groups. The philosopher Walter Benjamin assists me to define the storyteller and his mission. In his book, Illusions, he says, the storyteller takes what he tells from experience, his own or that reported by others, and he, in turn, makes it the experience of those who are listening to the tale. The novelist has isolated himself. The birthplace of the novel is the solitary individual who is no longer able to express himself by giving examples of his most important concerns, is himself unconsulted, and cannot conceal others. So here you see to the left the illustration that it is the Bible book from Jasmine Museum in India, and it's written in Tamil. So I think it's a nice illustration for a good storytelling that we can have as an inspiration. I would like to show our guests from Sweden, part of our project, and also Christina, who joined us, part of our project in the basic course. We created experimental learning activities around the Roman Gallery in the British Museum. We tagged each activity as curators do when they organize their artifacts. A good story is a story that integrates objects from different categories in unexpected ways. Now, we take a bird eye view for the stations that we created. We see that the digital story around the museum consists of 10 different components. And our question is, how do we create a challenging activity? We actually have to weave all these components to one structure. Visitors. So here I just present the interaction information components. These 4 components are components about information. So if we follow the visitor experience, the first thing, visitors have to read and look for the object. The second thing, visitors have to compare their findings with the picture. Then they read the informations and the tags. We surprise our visitors by organizing them, the components, in different orders for different missions. Imagine that nowadays, when we are all in our homes, we would be able to follow your stories just from your pictures, descriptive texts, and information, because I was in several virtual conferences with European and worldwide econ organization, and they all complain that we had a chance to introduce museums, but museum had to offer their public just virtual tours and catalog. There was nothing to intermediate the content by story. So this is my argument that we would can present just the information in the site. The interactive mission components is the heart of the story. These components empower the visitors to act as if they are in another role, historians, scientists, or researchers. When they take an active part, they concentrated in their mission. So here I put your missions that I appreciate. And now our mission for today is to choose a template. So these are your kiosk, what you can choose from, according to your idea of engaging. So you can choose a puzzle like Adam and Eve to the left. You can choose an geographic template when your stations are close in the same territory. So here I took just the stations that were created in Vienna by Michaela and Chris. So this is the second template. And the third template is an interactive map, that illustrated map that can be interactive. And this is Jasmine Museum. So I would like you, Jasmine, to open your mic and tell us about your museum and your way you build your visitor experience, please.
Okay, hi everyone. So this is the place called Tarangambali or Trankaba in the south of India, and we are running a museum on intercultural dialogue, which is based on the first, or which goes back to the first Protestant mission in the 18th century, and a very prominent missionary in that regard in this region, Bartholomew Ziegenbalg. And we started the museum in his living house, so that, yeah, here, what you can see here is a map or a perspective drawing from 1741 on how the compound was structured. What is important for us in the museum is that we don't highlight the person as such, that it's not a museum on a hero, but that it's a museum on the network that was related to this history of Christian mission. And there are several topics that we relate to it, that is like, first we give an introduction to the topic, then we give an introduction to how education was structured in this time, and then we go further to the printing history that was related to it. Thus, I think on this compound you can see many aspects of it, and you can see here the numbers. The museum, by the way, is on number 5, and the rest of the compound is still existent to a certain extent, but not all of it. And I like to play with the idea of what is still there and what is not there anymore, or what has been added within the past 300 years. So the idea is to send the visitor through the compound to explore it by themselves, and to see what is still there, what is not there anymore. And yeah, the buildings you can see here is no, that's the basic idea behind it. And
yeah, can you tell about your narrator, Mr. Ziegenbalg?
Yeah, so we've got several narrators. The first one is of course Ziegenbalg, who was this missionary, but then he is getting other people to the side, like Aaron, who was the first local pastor, and then Rahel, who was a teacher in this time. Yeah, that's on the ground floor, and when the visitor moves up on the first floor, that's when we come to the contemporary ideas of intercultural exchange. And then
a minute, I will put the second slide.
Oh yeah, that's the assembly hall. That's the building on the center, if you remember the map. Here, for example, the task would be find out when the building was constructed. You can, if you stand in front of it, you can still see in the center that was in 1741. Yeah, so that's still on the compound. On the compound, it's only Ziegenbalg who guides around, because there's also his statue. And yeah, the compound is established through different buildings, like the prayer hall that you could see before. Or now this is a hall which only has names through given by the local population. So you can see it's called the Dorothea Ziegenbalg House, or the printing hall, which is both not historically very accurate, but it's just interesting to see what a village does to its buildings. Yeah, so if you turn around then and enter the Ziegenbalg House, that's the 5th station on the map. If you enter the Ziegenbalg House, you've got here this introduction towards the historical part, towards where did he come from actually, and where was he educated, to then go on to understand that it's actually a network, not a single person who was there. And you can see this idea of network and intercultural exchange even before, or even by looking at the place where Ziegenbalg came from. So this textile that you can see here is a so-called reserve print from indigo, and it's a printing technique that came from India, and through the East India Company, the Dutch India East Company, it was established in Europe. And it spread widely throughout Europe and became a fashion there.
And
yeah, so that's the first part of the first room on that is the background in Germany, and then you come to the background in India basically, or the first steps of the missionaries in India. And one of them was, of course, to translate the Bible. It was Lutheran missionaries, and that's a very Lutheran idea that every person should speak the language of their own faith, should understand the texts of their own faith, so that they are self-respondent believers. Thus, the Bible was translated into Tamil, and we do have a copy of, not of the first prints, but of a print from 1845, 1805, I think. Yeah, this one is from 1805. So here Talila had a very great idea, I think, because with the topic of mission, you can also ask many. I mean, it's a highly sensitive topic. I think it's a topic related to colonialism. It's a topic related to hegemonical. How do you pronounce that in English? Well, to the questions of power and yeah, and destruction of indigenous cultures, or however you want to formulate this. But the Bible is a text. I mean, no matter what you think about mission, the Bible is a text that is full of teachings, and to ask moral questions in this context is very challenging, I think, and challenging to all kind of visitors. It's not based only on the Christian community. Yeah, and then since as I said, we don't want to highlight the biographical background of one person only, but we want to focus on the network of agents. It is here that Aaron overtakes the guided tour, and he narrates, or he talks about another colleague of him who went to Germany in 1715, and he was actually used. I mean, he accompanied Bartholomew Siegenwald, and thus he was a sort of promoter. He was showing the good success of the mission by speaking German, by reading from the Bible, and but he was also certainly taken as a person himself, and he was asked to sign a guest book, as you can see here, which he signed in Tamil and in German, in both languages. Oh yeah, so you go down, you wander through, you walk through the historical part before you go upstairs, which is the contemporary reflection of how do we perceive intercultural dialogue or intercultural exchange today, and this will be told by other people, like by contemporary figures. One will be my colleague, one will be me myself, and in the end, you've got an idea of what means intercultural dialogue in history and in today, and you will be rewarded by new insights into, or by new perspectives on history, I think.
Great, thank you very much, Jasmine. Shani, would you like to share your screen and show your surprise for Jasmine?
Yes, it will take a second. If Jasmine would stop sharing, I will show.
I stopped sharing. It was in my. Okay, so Jasmine was hard worker, so Shani managed to prepare her activities in the news run. Don't worry, in half an hour you will all have your own news run, and you will be able to edit it. Okay, so
okay, can I share my screen?
yeah.
No, not yet.
Do I have to introduce you? Shani, everybody knows Shani?
As the background spirit.
Yeah, Shani is the background spirit. Okay, Shani created the platform, and he developed it, and he can bring our dreams through.
Okay.
You have to click on share screen and then choose what you want to share, Shani.
You still disabled host disabled participant screen sharing.
Sorry. Now, try now. Sorry.
Okay, I will show the end result of what happened in the last hour. Then I'll shortly explain the process I'm doing in order to produce a game. What I'm doing is utilizing a tool called the Wizard. You won't learn it in this course. I will show it so you'll understand, but it's not part of your training. And I'm turning the PPT, the slideshow into interactive game using Jasmine elements. So I will be showing the process in order to make it easier for you to further generate activities. Now I'm sharing. What I'll first show the game. It's not finalized yet because during the Zoom, I integrated a few more stations into the game, so it's a bit, the gamification process is not full, but never mind. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're dealing here is with a mobile app, therefore the screen is narrow, what we call horizontal and not vertical. Okay, though it's web-based, it's always vertical. You have here at the upper part, you see the image of the important person. I will show you what Jasmine shared with me, with Talila actually. This is the presentation created by Jasmine. Okay, it's a sort of a storyboard which you've just seen, and I turned this storyboard into a web app. And because the image was very large, I put a few images one next to another and created a logo for Jasmine Museum. And then I took the introductory text from the first slide and put it as an introductory text for the whole web app. I can read this text. You can also integrate into this part, embed videos and other elements, but I just use text. The next phase is skippable. Some of you will have another stage here. And what you've seen in the map turned into a game. And it's a very simple game. It's a 45-minute frame. You can accumulate out 1,450 points, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 locations. I didn't have time to replace all the elements. Jasmine asked to have more info elements. When we finish gamifying the game, they are supposed to appear in a sequence, because in a way, if I understood Jasmine presentation correctly, she's creating a route. I'm not sure I got it right, but first you enter through the door. Since there was no activity to the gate of the museum, I integrated her mission about measure the mass. Which is this mission. Once completed, you get the information. The icon changes to a green icon. It could have changed to any icon you wish if you send me the icon. And what it should have appeared at this point would have been this building here, which doesn't have a number.
שני?
Yeah, Zoom has crashed.
אתה לא שומע אותנו?
Now
אנחנו
I
לא
hear
שומעים
you.
אותך.
He's back.
I know.
Okay, now we can hear you. Okay.
Okay. So where I don't know where I got lost, but not all numbers supposed to appear at the beginning of the game. Usually when you want to create a linear structured game, what you do is I create dependencies, but you need to tell me which station leads to the other. In this case, I didn't know which stations lead to the other, so I chose the first one. All of the relevant stations are actually here. I put them together in a structure, in a list structure, in the Zeigenbalg house, and I copied the information about this house because everywhere was written, this is not a real activity, it's just a placeholder that I want you to get to. And then you have 6 stations, and as you can see in this case, the design is very different from what you've seen before, and you can complete each activity. In order to move forward, you must answer the question. So what's the answer to this one? How many black keys are there? Jasmine?
We cannot see your screen now. We cannot see the station. Go back to share screen and choose it.
Can you see my screen?
We see your screen, but without, there is no station, no place to answer. Did you open a...
No, now there is a place.
No.
How many black keys are there? Mind the repetitive.
Oh, okay, now we see. Now we see it, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jasmine, what's the repetitive pattern?
It's 23. Shit, let me check.
23.
Try no.
It says 2 3 2 3 2 3.
Yeah, 1 second. I have it.
How should I guess? It's a bit difficult.
You can count actually. I think. Can you?
How many times 2 3?
1 second. I have it
2 3 4. 4 times. No, so I can't verify my arrival. Four? Maybe 4?
It's 20. It's sorry. It's 20.
20. Okay, sorry. I can't see the piano right now, so
yeah.
Wooden box. And when I've arrived, I verified that I'm at the right place. The portable red organ was produced in Germany, but found in India. It was mainly used in Protestant church village congregations to accompany, and then I comment the positive and negative effect of spreading religious music. I'm answering, and once I've answered, I claim the station. This is an important stage in gamification. Since it's claimed, I can see that the color has changed. I have a V mark saying you completed this mission, and I can continue with the rest of the missions. If I close the window here, I can see that I've gained 200 points. I know that I can still have points here because it's not completed yet, it's yellow and not green. And I can, in this case, continue to the other buildings and see what's going on over there. Though, if I understand correctly, they are not in existence currently.
Some of them
and
are.
once I open them, the color changes to yellow. in most cases. Number 4 was a mistake, but as you can see, this is a very intuitive game. What I will need in order to complete is the sequence of the stations. Otherwise, it's a navigational game. And the only thing I didn't know is who is going to use this game. Is it groups? Is it individuals? And so on and so forth. So, and once the game is up in the air, you can edit the stations directly from the game. You don't need to go back to your user and edit the stations. You will edit them directly from the game itself. Am I on my own?
No, we are.
It's okay.
Okay, Jasmine, who will be the audience of the game? Who will be the players?
Yeah, I thought of both small groups as well as individual persons. I would like we've got the advantage that we can individually meet all the visitors before they enter the museum. So we would give an information that the game is available, and if they have time to do so, they can explore the campus via the game.
Okay, in most, I might complicate things a bit, but when I create a game, I define what type of user is going to play the game. So in this case, I chose individuals. It's called info, but I could have created a new game for, I will show it, it will look.
שני, איבדנו אותך.
Yeah, it's being cut off all the time.
Yeah, אז תראה איך שעושים את ה... show how to make another game.
Yeah, I'm just it will take me a second to transform it into a group game.
Excuse me for a second, I just get my headphones. I'm back in a minute.
So should I wait a minute?
Show the result. I'm not sure that you shared the correct screen now.
Yes, it is. We are at the same game.
What we see, it's the same type in the same mode. Info and
now you see my screen? Can you see it now?
yeah, we see your screen with two ID, 36 and 35 ID.
36 and 35?
The ID of the games.
There are two banners, group game and intercultural.
No,
dialogue.
do you see? No. Can you show us the entrance to the Muse Run now? To Yasmin Muse Run. So there will be. Okay, now great. Okay.
Okay, so we're here. Previously, it looked like this. There were only filtering by tags. If we chose unselect all, the whole game, all content would have disappeared. And let's say we just wanted to hear something about music. So only content, okay. Trying to see why. Okay. Content about architecture. So it now appears here. But had we chosen a group game, the station cards looks a bit different. And most importantly, you have here a leaderboard. So a lot of people can enter the same session at the same time. And we have a competition between the different participants in the game, gaining points at the museum. So if you try to analyze what an experience is, the first is defining the audience. Second is defining the structure, how you want the game to move forward in accordance to the game. You are using templates, so you're using simple games. It's not very complicated. It's either a linear game or revealing images or score orienteering. I think I'm done. I'm talking a lot about something very simple.
Okay, do you have questions about Jasmine game or comments or something that you would like to share?
Shani, I have a question myself. In the presentation, I used some campus images, and I was wondering, I mean, if it's linear, is it also possible that you don't move back to the initial map, but that you move with inside the game, that you move from one station to another?
Okay, now something about the definition. We are creating in this course basic games. In this game, the layout, as you can see, is called a scene. The background is the map of the museum. And on the map of the museum, content is laid out. Okay? If we'll reach a point where we create complicated games, then we move from one background to the other. But in this case, we're just trying to sequence the content. In which manner will the background change in your game?
Like from one room to another, or from one space, better to say, from one space to another.
Okay, but here, where are the rooms?
Shani, rega, Yasmin, sorry. Let's make everybody, what we would like you now to do is, in the chat, write your preferable template. Like, write, I would like to have a map, an interactive image, or illustrated map. And then write your username on the platform. So Shani will create for each one of you a site that you will be able to edit, to move on. So on Thursday, we will move on with your personal game. So you will be all in the same level like Jasmine, okay? Jasmine, sorry, because the time is running, and I would like that in a few minutes, everybody will work on his personal site. So what Shani needs is your preferable template, what would you like to do? Would you like to work on Google Map? Would you like to work on illustrated map as Jasmine created? Or would you like to make a puzzle?
Do they know the differences? Do they know what?
Do you, if you have questions about template and the template has to appeal your needs, so please ask.
But do they know what a puzzle is and to what does it fit?
Okay, open your camera, Shani. You are like a ghost now.
Sorry. I'll shortly explain. If I understood Jasmine's game, it's an example and you need to explain. Jasmine has a museum. In this museum, there is a leading figure which takes you from one place to another. Therefore, regardless of the complexity of the game, it's a linear game. You have an illustrated background, and every time one station is open after the other. Okay, so it's essentially, it's a route on an illustrated map with supposed to be about 9 stations, because a player can play the game for 45 minutes, 1 hour. So it's a young player playing for 1 hour or so, and moving from one place to another in a linear structure. Since we're not so many, if you can explain what the typology of the experience you are thinking of. Talila was speaking of 3 kinds of experiences. One is what we've shown, a route on an illustrated map. The second is called score orienteering, or a geographical map. It could also be an illustrated map, but that's a nuance, where all the stations open at once and the user has to navigate on his own and make a decision where to go. In this case, he usually has more content than he can digest, and his choice is done either by giving points to each station, or by distancing the stations, where he decides whether it's worthwhile going there. And the third option was revealing some sort of a secret. You hide a secret under the stations, and every time you claim a station or you perform a station, you receive one part of the missing image. So now if you can tell us about your stories, it will be all right. It will be easier for me to generate a game afterwards, or you send me a presentation like Jasmine did. It's just fine that way.
Okay, so I think for me it's clear it will be a geographical map. And I'm not sure if I'm really, having a story which really forces you to go from one place to the other, but I think people should choose, walking through the second district and realizing with the help of the app that now they are in, I don't know, Tempelgasse, and now they can hear something or do something with the temple. Because if I organize it, for example, in a chronological way, it's too complicated to go back and forth all the time.
Okay. So the order is geographic, and the layout is a geographical map, or is it an historical map? Because each station contains a small map on its own. So for navigational reasons, you actually don't need a geographical map. Each station has its own navigational system, independent. So in a way, you can contrast, if it's an historical issue, you can contrast his current maps with some historical background. Is there any map of this sort?
No, I mean, I have in one of the stations, I used an old map, but it's only a historical map until 1670, but it has nothing to do really with the time now. So I think Google Maps probably would be the easiest, but I mean, I have to look if there are nice maps which include.
And the user is playing a game, or is it going, is there a dependency structure, first station, second station, third station? Or would you like to let him see all the content and choose, like an informative guide?
Yeah, I think that's the way it will be for the moment. I mean, you know, I just jumped into the project, so I just tried to find out what could be interesting in the second district, but to be honest, I didn't have a story because, yeah, I just, you know, started to work.
Okay, so I'll tell you what I tend to create. I will create on the same, how many points are there?
I wanted to make 9. I think now I have 7. Oh, yeah, 7. So 2 are missing, but I will make them.
Okay, so the game will open. I hope there will be some introductory text, and then you will have 2 options. Either you will have a semi-audio guide where the station card will be mainly informative, but also navigational, where you can see what is it about and either perform or not perform any activity, because the user is somebody who's interested in the content and he wants just to go from one place to another. The other session is the name of a small design to the same game. Okay, like in tennis where you have the same game but different sessions, it's the same game with different appearance. We will create a groups game where it will be competitive. There will be, each place will have points. They will all, we can decide whether to open them one by one or all together, and it will be a group game. So let's say we have a class from a high school, they can run around the district and have a competition, see each other's images, and it's a very easy to create game because there is no dependency structure. Everything starts at once. Unless you tell me you want the informational guide to be sequenced, A, B, C, D. If so, just tell me the order. And I create a dependency structure. It's not complicated. I just want to save you the effort of doing so. In the future, you might do it yourself, but for now, I do it.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good?
Yes.
Okay. Who else? Anybody else?
Shall I talk?
Would you like to describe the game, the audiences?
Well, I took nine questions that an actor should ask himself before he reads a script, a theater play. And this is how I designed the whole activities. It has 3 main places: Galicia in Ukraine now, and all the way to Palestine. This is 1920. So it goes from to Vienna to Italy and to Israel. And then, so I should have about 4 stations in Lvov, about 4 or 5 stations to Israel. It's a journey, and another 3 or 4 in Israel. And each of them is a question you have to, an assignment and a question you have to answer from this method of acting.
So if I get it right, your experience must be linear. You must start with the first activity and then go to the second and the third.
Yes, yes.
Be accumulative. You should see your progress. And is there importance for geography, or should it be an illustrated background? For instance, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, or need it be geographical or something like this?
Geographical can be fine. A picture can be fine.
So what will be the background image?
I think either either geographical or a picture.
Yes, but what will be the picture?
The picture of
Yes.
the people of this group. It's a Zionist group of youth that made an aliyah in 1920 from Lvov to Israel.
So just out of how many people are in the group?
There are 7, but we are really after 3 of them.
Okay, I could have offered a different way of gamification. It's for the rest of you just to think of. Let's imagine we take this old image of this 7 people's group, and we put one or more, but let's say one station for each role player. Okay, and we start with the first actor. He's in Lvov. He has an activity in Lvov, and then he closes, and the second actor activity appears. This action is in Vienna. So we move in 2 ways, always on one image. We have a group image evolving from one stage to another, and we are as if changing roles. The first leading figure is figure number 1, then you see figure number 2, then you see figure number 3, and it's not geographical, it's social in the sense that you all the time another person is added to the game. It's just an option. If you write down your game design, I will do whatever you decide, but now I'll say something. What we've seen, if you want to gamify, the context should give you some sort of an experience. So if you add another figure to the other, it gives you a sense of evolution.
It's not follow my story. Maybe if the picture is changed from before to after, because the change is immense.
So try and imagine how it will look like and send me some storyboard.
Okay.
Shani, yes. And Dalila, well, let me introduce me a little bit myself. I'm Jose, I'm educative project responsible in Norrbotten Museum. It's in Sweden, and appreciate so much the invitation of Dalila and Shani for this course. Is only to know what amazing projects are you doing, because we will cooperate in the future in our museum that is a culture museum in the north region of Sweden, and we work a lot of with heritage and with objects, but also with social questions, and relate with, even if I'm not officially in the course, but maybe it could be interesting show with you and with Dalila and Shani this project that we want to develop next year, because next year is like a big topic in Sweden in culture institutions related with democracy and democracy support and democracy culture. So one of our projects also relate with a very big event called 400th anniversary from some municipalities in the north area. It's called Places of Democracy, and we develop a physical guide visit in different places of the city where is the museum. Is called Luleå, and are historically very important places relate with the process of democracy building by several reasons. Relate with the law, relate with the justice, relate with the vote system, relate with the representation, relate with the woman rights, etc. So we will identify different historical places in the city to organize like a guide visit, a physical guide visit to offer to high schools, to students, to families. But also we are planning to do this in a digital way, and that's the reason because we contact also with Talil and Shani, and we are thinking about how to develop like a kind of digital game, a digital platform to transform this physical face-to-face guide visiting as some digital experience. So in this approach, Talila, Shani, and using your templates system, I think is interesting because our idea is both geographically based, but also historically based. Because at the end, we will have maybe, I don't know, 9, 12 different places distributed in different areas of the city that are historically very important in this democracy process, but at the same time are geographic places. And a third component that is we want to improve as much as possible the involvement of the users to debate. The key point is the debate all around the key topic that show the place of the city that has been identified as important in this democracy process, building process. So around, for example, a question of the rights of the fight for the woman rights, we want to have first this physical experience to know the place, but also we want to create this digital involvement to play with this platform, with these stations. Each station may be for a specific place, and the key point for each station is to debate about some specific topics and share your opinions, your ideas, your questions with other people that are using this platform. So my question for you, or my just only the feedback for you, is how to could be interesting to develop this geographic plus historical approach for the stations. Is not only a geographically place, is also a place with a lot of history and important history to know and to understand. And the second point is when the users play with something that is challenging in this specific place, how can we do this involving the question of the debate, the arguments, how to build arguments around this specific point of the places. So this is only for to introduce a little bit our mood in this relate with these different templates.
And you want to answer him?
I'm not sure I understood the question itself. I think it's a much, the technology itself is just a tool in this case to collect people's participation.
Yeah.
And what, if I understand Jose aim in the deepest sense, is collecting heritage rather than interpreting heritage or providing people with their heritage, in the sense that we are mainly interested in their comments, feedbacks, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, the question is how to use some specific heritage to start a debate and establish connections between past and present. I mean, something that happened in a specific place maybe 80 years ago, how it could be interesting, could be useful, could be applied to our nowadays debate with specific questions that continues being important today for them.
This is a very, I will try and generalize it. Let's say you were creating one place, because to talk about the total heritage, it's a lot of content.
Yeah.
But the place you are talking about 8 years ago is a specific place, right?
Yes, yes, it's specific.
Which is?
Yeah, is the place, for example, where start a demonstration to fight for the rights of the woman to vote, for example.
Okay, so now let's take this as an example. We have a city map, and we have a location where there was a demonstration about women's right to vote. So I'm sent to this location, and I'm asked to verify I go to the right place or not, GPS or not, and my mission is to demonstrate for women's rights. And
Yeah.
then I have a survey question asking me how much progress do you think has happened in the recent 80 years? Okay, I answer the survey, I get some information about this demonstration. And now two things can occur. One thing is that something new and not exactly related will appear on the map. It can be another important place in the city. But the other option is that the demonstration station will activate a new scene. And within this scene, you will have 4 different new activities related to women's rights. Or I don't know whether I'm using the right terms, but to it will be a thematical background, and you will be given choice to choose whether a woman's political aspirations, and then you will go to the city council.
Yeah.
Other place will be women's participation in economical activity, and then you will be sent to a very interesting business run by a leading businesswoman.
Yeah.
The other option would be to go and see some military compound where women are participating equally as men. It's an issue in Israel, so I'm raising it up.
Yeah, yeah.
And the fourth option might be not so optimistic, sending you to some places where progress wasn't really done. And then you have another option to go back to the main map if you're not interested in going in depth into this issue. So if you created a small activity, a templated activity about women's participation, the main scene would have been the one I was talking about right now, and the introductory scene would have been one activity about the demonstration. If we scale it up to the whole city, you will have, I presume, about 10 to 12 such themes, some of them maybe with zoom-in themes, so might be more. And then you have an holistical view of the city, but it's a big project. It's not a small scale, because you need to analyze what audiences will want to participate in such a huge experience.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, this approach, like a tree approach. I mean, you achieve a station, and you have the possibility to go in different other places that show you a real example of the consequence, the effect, or even not in the way of the good consequence or not the bad consequence. I think is very interesting, and the possibility to go back and to continue. But as you mentioned, that means that you need to design all the possibilities, and it's a big project because you multiply. Imagine that you have 9, 10, 12 stations. If every station bring you to these 3, 4 another possibilities, you have like finally like 40 or more possibilities to
Yes.
but I think it's very interesting because it's absolutely rooted and connected with the reality of the city. But yeah, I think it's something that we can think about because we can have, and I think is a strong point, a very well-founded knowledge about the key points of this building democracy, relate with women, relate with immigrants, relate with voting system, relate with the law system, relate the representation institutions. So we can have these 8, 9, 10 items. Every item can be related with some specific place, and some specific place can be related with a station. And working with this station, you can get, it's like have like different levels. You can stay with a basic level and do what you the station is asking you in some specific place, but also you can continue working and go into another places or another institutions to know the impact of this specific station in other places of the city. So yeah, for me it's clear the idea, and I will bring with me. And this is one of the specific questions that we will work with in the future, Shani. So thank you very much for your feedback. But I think it's very interesting, this relation between geographic places and historical places both together, because at the end the group will move in the city physically, but also interacting with the station digitally.
Yeah, you will hear now the idea about in Vienna. Christine, yeah. Can you present your idea, please?
Should I?
Yeah, Christina or Christine, please go on.
Yes, our idea is to make, this year there's a big exhibition in the Leopold Museum about Hundertwasser, and Hundertwasser is a Viennese-born artist, and there are several big landmarks that are around the city. So therefore what we think would be most suitable is to use the maps, since the stations are not are close but not that close together. And I think you have seen already some of the stations we made on the platform.
Do you have any idea about the story? What experience would you like your visitors to?
We thought about 3 main focus points that also were crucial for Hundertwasser, which is one, Hundertwasser and his architecture, or his architectural philosophy mainly. One is Hundertwasser and his time, so his work and the inspiration he got, especially from Egon Schiele, which is another Viennese-based, Viennese-born important painter. And then we have Hundertwasser and his and the nature, because he was a very big nature activist, and you can see that also in his architectural buildings. So we have different medias that you see in our stations. It's either a building or facade, or a whole building with specific details, or an artwork which is in his museum or in another exhibition, but it's also stations of his life, like the Academy of Academy of Fine Arts, or his birthplace, which Michaela is now gone, but it's in the 2nd district since he was of Jewish descent. And we had these 3 main categories we had in mind, under which we put these 9 stations under. Yeah.
Since you are 2, you can create more than 9 stations. I'm just stating the number of stations in this case is not the core issue.
Yeah.
What I hear is that there are 3 themes in the content sense.
Yes.
It's sort of tagging system, but it can be either organized as a biographical timeline. You can almost imagine a background where his timeline is evolving from one place to another. It can either be geographical, where you go with this person from one place to another, or it could have been some, and I'm saying it, if we continue sophisticating the idea, somehow I think that your game structure is accumulative. You have a round figure, metaphorically speaking, which has a lot of elements about it. Some are architecture, some are nature, some are philosophical, some are artistic. It's not a flat figure, it has depth. And in a way, when you learn about him, you're as if accumulating his lifetime's work. And I'm trying to visualize the user experience. Am I clear in what I'm saying?
More or less, but
going game around the city, but it will be missing the idea of the person, because it's not a competitive game. When you learn about such a person, it doesn't sound right to create a competitive game running around town. Maybe yes, but maybe for youngsters, but then the audience is leading and not the content. And I'm trying to think what you are curating an exhibition about this person. So what will be the experience of the person using your experience? And somehow when I hear it, it's as if I'm filling the blanks into his personality. I'm building his figure, a collage or montage or something like this. I'm not sure I'm right, but if you start planning, I think you should think about it also in this way. Try to think of the user. He's entering the app, he's meeting this person, and what is he gaining by going to his houses around town, seeing his images, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but what the background for us was our target audience were younger people. So you have usually these, you call it Wiener Wochen, where young school classes from all over Austria come to Vienna and have to be here get to be here for a week. And they are always dragged to the same sites. So it's including most of these from Hundertwasser. And what we thought was to make it a little bit more interesting and interactive for them, because the concept of Hundertwasser was an extremely humorous person.
Okay.
In his architecture and in his philosophy and in his artwork titles. Very creative. But I think the humor gets sometimes lost in the quantity of information you have in this Vienna week. And to make it a little bit more interactive for a generation, and they will pass by these stations if they want to or not.
They are going on their own, they are in a group, they are navigating how?
They're in a group.
They're in a group.
Yes.
So we need to I'm just stating it. If they're in a group and you want to create an experience, there are two options.
Mhm.
One is to say, I'm going from one building of his to another artwork of his, and I have one station in each place, and when I do perform it, it's good enough for the rest of the group to enjoy it. Like Measure the Mess you've just met. Let's say they are going with a pen and a pencil, and each one of them is adding a drawing of his own relevant to a place. Then they have a gallery of their creations all together. This is one option. And the other option, which is a bit more complicated, but since you are two, it might be possible to accomplish. Let's imagine they are getting to one building, and in this location they have several stations, and they have to work as a team to accomplish. So in a way, you choose a location, but you create several dependent elements that they need to perform together. I'm trying to think of your audience and what will make them, because they have an interest in this person, but it sounds like their main interest is social within themselves, and you need to somehow utilize their motivation. I'm just putting in a lot of gamification elements when speaking of, and not content-wise, because it sounds like you're into the content completely and your missions are almost completed, and it won't take you a lot of time to generate the content. And this course and your mission is to try and curate it in a way that it will be significant for this group of youngsters. And so I offered a few options now. Any other of the participants have comments about this? Just to know whether you have any ideas? No? Nobody has any idea how to... We have a biography figure with a diverse biography, and the group of young people who need to go together around town must go with each other, and they need to communicate rather than listen. This is, if I understand when you say more interactive, you mean that they will not only react, they will also act. And and now I'm trying to weave it together. So you'll send me some layout and we'll just create something and you can start creating it.
Okay.
Okay, ideas. Now let's make it concrete. It doesn't take long. It's an easy way. Let's mess it up.
We thought for ourselves, we had a structure in mind how it could work out, but yeah, the linearity,
yes,
the alignment is the one element which we could not or we didn't figure. So we were thinking, when you in the beginning showed us the 3 templates, maybe the map option would be the best, so they can see on the map where the next station is. Or also ask the museums that participate, there are 3 main locations chosen to attach something that there is an interactive point that they can, the children can, or youngsters.
I would have went in a totally different direction.
Okay.
It's just my idea. I would have created more stations. And can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And
yes,
I would have replaced the icon with some letter about his artwork.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody can perform all the stations in your walk around. So I walk around and I accumulate letters, or some, it can be also symbols. It needn't be letters as such.
Mm-hmm.
And they decode something about his artwork. So when I go from one place to another, I accumulate either symbolic elements or just letters or numbers or whatever. And then the final activity I use all the elements to solve something. And nobody can, and you need to design it in a way that you need to talk with others in order to have all the elements. So there will be some sort of a teamwork. So they go together, but their complexity is to solve some kind of, no, it's not a mystery, it's called a decoding, like escape rooms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Escape rooms that are constructed the same way. You have a lot of elements, you break element by element, and sometimes you pick up one element from here and one element from here, and you put it together. Let's say you've seen a very interesting architectural building,
Yes.
and an image of nature. And what you need to use both in order to solve something about his naturalistic perspective. So one will be color red, the other will be color blue, and the answer will be the combination of blue and red, right? And it won't be trivial. There won't be a clear answer. It needs to be non-pedagogical. It won't be saying, okay, if you do that and that, you have the solution. You need to be creative because you are talking about a creative person. So you get the blue and you get the red, but God knows what should you do. You should mix them, but you should mentally mix them, and then the answer is, I don't know what's the combination of red and blue. Talida maybe knows. But
I have a question about that. So I'm working together with Christina.
Yeah.
So the goal from the combination of those two would be for the students or the youngsters to interpret it in your own way, or
Yes.
write an essay about it when you go back home, or write or draw a picture or something. So you would just leave it open and there is no right or wrong answer?
Right, but there is no right answer, and there is no, this is something that I've recently done. It's a project from last year. Up till that point, I was very pedagogical. So you have a message, you want to give it to the people, but when thinking of a gamification, if you explain too much about the rules of the game, it's not a game anymore. It's a quiz or a test or a lesson. And sometimes you want to leave loose ends, but you don't want to keep to let them be completely loose. So you say, okay, this changed to blue, this changed to red. And if somebody is creative enough, he's saying, yeah, but I have a keyhole here. And if I press it, I have a question saying, what color is in common to both this artwork and that artwork? And then he has to go back to what is already done and think of the combination. The simplest mode for this is a hidden image, where you reveal something, but it's very simplistic because you turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you reveal what's the secret behind. So the gamification element is the same, but decoding is different, because when you have decoding, not all the time you have the right answer. You might be confused at the end, and then you're asked to write an essay because you didn't solve it. If you write an outline of the game, you can start fine-tuning it and try and focus on something smaller in size and more complicated in essence. Because if you try to grasp all the city at once, you might become pedagogical again, in the sense you have a lot of content you want to provide, rather than change the experience. Because if I understood what you're aiming at, is changing the experience, not only giving information. If I got it right, I'm not sure I got it right, because there is tons of information. You won't be able to provide everything anyhow.
No, but that was also not the point of it, to provide all the information. If I may quote an example, which would be the Fernwärme. It's garbage burning for energy making, can't remember the English word, incinerator, I think it's in English,
Yes.
Which he made for the city. And the story is not about the incinerator and how he built it, because no one cares at this stage. So, but the thing we wanted to show there is his humoristic part, which is very important. And we picked the detail as an element of the game, which is a hat, a literal hat he put on a building to translate the German saying "den Hut draufhauen," which means to quit. And the owner of the incinerator said he didn't want to work anymore with Hundertwasser. He was bothering him, and he said, "Oh, I want to throw the hat on it." And Hundertwasser took that and put a literal hat on the building. And I think that is something which changed the experience. I show you this building. It's a beautiful building, but you see it from afar, but the process of it, and then the information, maybe it is an incinerator, it burns, it fuels 60,000 households in Vienna, but that is not the main point we want to tell you. The main point, it wears a hat. And Hundertwasser was very humorous about this stuff, as he was with many other things.
So you have to be more humorous than pedagogic.
It sounds like you're way ahead within the station creation. I'm positively certain that your content will be great. Great. It sounds that I would love to enjoy it and participate, and I know Vienna did, so I'll probably enjoy it more, but now we are trying to connect the dots. Our mission here at this session is to think of the story, because you have a clear mission, clear audience, you know the content, you can create all the stations immediately and improve it with time. It sounds you really know what you're doing. So if the content is strong enough just to put it on the map and enjoy it, it's fine. Our contribution here can be about the storytelling. And if we're speaking of humor, I had a client once, they wrote a comic book. Mm-hmm. So they were creative in the sense that each time you finished one element, the next chapter in the comic appeared. So it's just an example, it's not what you're doing, but I'm trying to assist you with the story. I'm sorry for repeating myself time and time again. A bit nagging, but without a but. There is no but. How much time is the walk around town?
We haven't quite figured that out yet.
Do you want them to have a pre or post activity?
Pre or post activity?
Yes.
Pre the game or what?
Yes. Is it a 2 hours activity, or do they prepare in advance? Does it happen after?
It should be a little bit of a combination. I think that the game does not work if you don't have a little bit of background information.
So when we post. So the essay you were.
Yes.
Okay.
Right now, as far as we thought of it right now.
Okay, I think you will have a game very fast. It won't take much. Try and put the elements into the system.
Yes.
We create a draft and improve it.
Yeah, and you said earlier that we should create more stations. Like how many more would you say? Yeah,
the reason we are limiting the number of stations are two. Yeah. One is that to perform a station takes somewhere in between 5 to 15 minutes. If you need to go there or do something, it's a location-based interactive learning object. It's small, but it takes time. So if you create more than 9 units of content, the user will work somewhere in between an hour or 90 minutes. It might be a bit shorter, but who can sustain such an activity? It's a very long activity. This is one thing. And the other thing is, when you are a single creator, you get frustrated after 9 stations or so, and the quality of your work unless you are preparing something very big for a museum, but it's not the case. You are beginners in this sense. You are two, so you can create more elaborated content and mixture. If two people work on the same content so it really doesn't matter if it's 9 or 12 or 16 stations. The idea is you have an audience, you have time, and you have a message. And now all you need is to weave it. And so don't limit yourself with this. It's not a holy number for two people. It's a holy number for one person, because otherwise his experience won't be functional, and we'll finish the course and you'll say, oh, we worked so hard, but if this doesn't really work, we have a lot of work we have to do. And it needn't be like this. In 4 meetings time, you should have a working game you can play with. Otherwise, it's so frustrating for everybody, for you mainly. I'm working with software. It's frustrating anyhow. So, but you needn't be frustrated. It needs to be immediate and creative. It needn't be so, oh, more text, more question, more. And your user, if you're tired, your user will be tired too. It needs to be a bit light, or at least enlightening.
And if we think about the weaving together, would we think in 2 groups, like blue and red? And we put those stations into group red and the other, for example, 6 stations into group blue?
Yes. And then at some point, red and blue should mix. Mm-hmm. I'm creating something like this. It's a huge project in a museum. It's more complicated, but I can explain if you have interest. I don't know whether everybody's bored.
Chani, let Yana, because we are over time, and I feel if you have to go. I will tell you that I will send you a mail, and tomorrow and tomorrow, I don't remember when, tomorrow and then Tuesday, we will have tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and on Tuesday at 12, we have training class. And if you want me to assist you and this time it's not suitable for you, so let me know. And our next meeting will be on Thursday at the same hour. Keep with the good move. And Yana, would you like to, Shani, can you send Jasmine the site that she can edit her stations from the Muse run?
Done.
Sorry?
Sent it.
You sent it? Okay. Okay, so Yana, would you like to share your idea?
I think about wandering around historical places of the city I live in, and I didn't choose a template, right template.
It's fine.
I have chosen like 3 places: railway station and water tower and Antiquities hill. So I should choose to add more stations. Maybe it could be play for 2 groups of students based on competition, and wandering around the city places.
White students?
Middle high school.
They are allowed to go around town on their own?
Yes. I live in a small town.
I don't know. Sometimes in some places they don't.
Afula.
Okay. And when they compete, never mind. When they go around town, Is there something linking
and visit the most interesting places of our city, historical places.
But is there an historical connection between the places, or they are just
also historical and architectural and also social?
What social? What social elements?
Different communities of the
Might
city.
be interesting. We're not only into historical, and the communities has relations to the places.
Yes, through history, yes. For example, there are places that are 100 years old, and there are places that about 1,000.
And there is a timeline. It's like an archaeological mound where you can progress with time. You can move on, let's say, from before Christ, after Christ, and so on and so forth.
Maybe.
Okay. So start creating the content, and we'll see what we can.
So which template is
generally
better
speaking?
to choose?
I just compare the templates. The basic template is called score orienteering. When we're speaking of geographical map, the meaning is that there is no real storytelling. It's not a problem. It's better. It works wonderfully, and usually audiences enjoy it very much. And museums I've worked with this game earned a lot of money because it's very intuitive. So you have a map and content is spread around. Just on a geographical map or illustrated map, it really doesn't matter. You ring the bell and everybody's running out. They have time. They get there very fast. The missions are usually very social. You need to take a photo or do something light. The stations are not very intellectual in this sense. We had a huge game in Tel Aviv, the Hall of Independence, for thousands of people simultaneously. They go, they run, they do, and it works. So the default for zone games, a town or a city, is called score orienteering. Is the English name for a navigational game where you have to choose where to go. You have points for each place by performing the action, and at the end of the time, everybody's going to the same place and showing who's the winner. So it's a competitive game. And when the audiences are young, middle school or high school, or university students who are not extremely involved, it's a great game because you don't need to explain anything, and so on and so forth. So the default will be a score orienteering game. It requires no special preparation. But sometimes it misses the point because your content is not eclectic, and you want to tell a more weaved story. So in your case, it would be a score orienteering game on a geographical map until we decide to change it.
Okay, thank you. I think a geographical map, it would better choice.
Okay, Emek? Emek? Emek?
Open your mic, Emek. Open your mic.
Yeah, my connection is
terrible. Yeah. Okay, yes. Now we can hear you.
Okay. Hello again. I am planning to build my stations on this new exhibition. We will start in June, early June, and it will be about. You remember, Carla? We did one station together, a practice station for women clothes, and from early Ottoman period, from early 14th century. and it will be mostly on those clothing, and then weaponry. It's not a very big collection, just a few, but there are some from the weaponry used from that time, and also clothing and hats, for example. So I was, of course, planning to my target group would be the youth, but also because they are more digital, their digital literacy is higher than elderly, so I prefer to practice this with them. And I would like to, for example, find out how they estimate, for example, to find whether they connect.
I can't hear, so it might have been.
Stay close to the mic.
Maybe I'm getting old, but.
It is my pro. I know it's from.
Okay, I'm in a volume now. My neighbors, and they are far away. They are shouting.
Okay, I'm shouting also now. So these clothes are tells about their social status of these people. So I would like them to realize whether these clothes are just a fashion trend in fashion, or how clothing was important then. But I realized also now that you were explaining that it is more cognitive than like based on practice. So I was trying to change my ideas. So I want to include estimation and photo collection from other parts of the museum, which are in close relation to this collection. So basically, the collection will be clothes and women textile and hats and weaponry. So I wanted to include geometrics and estimation, and also, but in the end, where I go, I don't know. I mean, what is this 9th station end up, where they end up? I don't know that yet.
I'm sure, since you've all participated in the previous course, I'm sure that the content will be fine. Why will people play your game? Why will they do so? Why will they choose and not say, oh God, put it aside and go do something else? What is their main motivation? Is it educational? Do they get a grade? And are there families? What makes them passionate about your museum?
That's good question. I should, but it will be families, because we are now entering summer and the schools are closed, and the situation will matter, I think. So yeah, I should think about that too.
So it will be a family activity, a dialogue between a parent and a child?
Yes, probably, yes.
If so, I'm just saying it's something a bit complicated. I didn't create it recently. The last time I created something like this was 3 years ago or more. You can divide, we didn't show you this, but regardless of the structure, I would have chosen a hidden image, something very simple. But I would have created the content in a way that it's generating a dialogue between the parent and the child. So let's say I have a verification arrival question, the parent sees the answer, and the child has the question. And when they find it, the child has the mission, it should be creative, and usually the parent has a camera or something, and it can be a bit more complicated, but what's important is that they have 2 devices. It's a bit complicated, we can try it out. But when you create the content, fill in all the possible fields, even if it doesn't appear. And I will generate a simple hidden image game where you see behind some very illustrated figure. It will be a simple game with 9 stations because they go around the museum and reveal something together. It's their way to connect, but within the content, what they will need 2 devices. And if you say in all the museums I work with now, they will let only very small groups to work. Very small groups mean families or teams. So try and create the content in a way that it generates some dialogue between, and I think that the children should be about 10 years old, and smaller, they need 3 people, someone to support, because it needs to be creative. And you have already 9 stations or not?
Not completed, no.
So create drafts and we'll create a game. Send Talila or me a background image, a nice background image, interesting, with a lot of small details. Okay. Where each time you expose something, you reveal something interesting. So some text or some very nice. Only when you finish everything, you understand what's hidden behind it, and you will have a fast game, and then we can continue creating more.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so you all have your homework to do. Unless you have questions, do you like to, Christine, do you have more questions, or you have an idea for your next step?
I think we have an idea of what our homework is. We want to create up to 2 stations and then think about the 2 teams. And like another team can start at the Kunstmuseum Hundertwasserhaus and the other one maybe at another museum or his birthplace, and then they meet at the Fernberne station at some point.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so keep on with the good work.
Yeah.
I'm here if you have more questions, and we will meet during the week.
Yes.
What can I do?
Jasmine,
Shani will give stations, you. Right?
Shani gives. Can you please give instruction to Jasmine? First, you can add more station, no?
To Yasmin?
Yeah.
Yasmin, the main issue about Yasmin is to give the sequence of the stations, because I don't know how the game evolves. It's not clear.
From her presentation, okay.
To say this is the first, this is the second, this is the third, this is the fourth, this is the fifth, the sixth. The other issue is that you chose, I can show you the game, most of the stations are within one building, and I don't know the building, so I created a list. If you have something more, an illustrated map, a 360-degree imagery, and some structures saying this is the cultural interaction between India and Germany, or whatever, I will locate them in a different visual way. Now it's the list, and the list might be a bit to-do list.
Yeah. Okay. Shani, when I thought about the
Can you wait just a second?
Yeah, sure.
אם אני רוצה לשלוח פקס, אני יכולה לשלוח את זה למספר של נייד?
לא.
רק לטלפון?
אני אטפל בזה. Sorry, I didn't, I had some.
Okay, so when I created the first idea, I basically had the model of the Erez Israel Museum in Tel Aviv in mind, which Talila sent me the link of.
Yes, but this museum has 70 stations for a game of 1,000 simultaneous participants, and they play for 90 minutes, and then they are assembled in a huge hall showing all the images. This is the context. it's a lot of content and the long experience, and they design the screens one after another. So if you want, I can assist, but it's a lot of work. It wasn't created in a day. It's not a template game. It's a huge game. It's not a thematical game in the sense that it doesn't have a story. It's the museum, and you go from one place to another. They have about 20 such games, some smaller, some bigger. But this game it's called they have 17,000 artifacts in the museum.
Yeah, but can't you restrict it? Like, I mean, I don't need like 70 stations, and I don't have 1,000 visitors. But can't you like minimize it to the needs I have?
Yes, I can, but I need how will I know when I know what Alila has shown you, but in this game you have a series of navigational screens leading you from one place to another, but how do I know where the screens are? There was a tree leading you from one place to another. I don't have this tree. I just have a list.
Okay. Okay, but do you have my presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
I can look at the presentation with you about the details, and make the best out of it.
I think that would be helpful for me to.
Yes, so we'll talk, and I'll make the best I can.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you, Jose. You open your mic.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting, and has been very inspired for all the projects. So thank you very much for sharing. I'm sure that will be great projects in the near future, and all of you is very interesting because you have like key concepts to start with your projects: the humor, the culture interaction, and the interrelation between different cultures. That I think is the most important today for this kind of digital experience. That is, start with a powerful key culture concept that sometimes we forget about. We start immediately with the technique and but we don't invest some time, and I think all of you have done, and I'm very, the geometry, for example, that mentioned Emek is, and all this, how can I use the geometry and relate with the status, the social status? I think is super interesting, and this root the digital experience so much. It's not only a question to use the technology, it's a question to use the technology to go deep into the culture. And I have learned a lot from all of you, and I'm very thankful for this. So thank you very much, Dalila and Shani, for this.
Bye, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
What time is sunset today in northern Sweden?
Now is 5 or near 5 to 5. So,
and the sunset, when is the sunset now?
This morning we have a little bit of a snow, but and now it's cloudy.
No sun, huh?
is usual. Just now with the course start the sun, so it's a good way to start the course.
Okay. Bye. See you, Jose.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
ביי.
אוקיי, ביי אורלי, להתראות, תודה.
ביי, להתראות, תודה רבה, ביי.
Bye. Okay, Yasmin, Emeka will send you and I will see you tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
Now you have what to think about.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Lila, can you remind us when...
Yeah, I will send you a letter in few minutes. Training class tomorrow at 4 o'clock Israel time, and Tuesday 12 o'clock Israel time. But if you if you cannot attend this time, so write me when you can, and I will announce. I meet Jana, and everybody is welcome. No problem. Shani, so now you can show Jasmine and everybody that wants to see how you organize Jasmine station. You can share your screen and show the wizard, and then she will direct you where to place the stations.
There is no, I can show what I'm doing, but it might be confusing. Sometimes when I show it, people get confused. You're not supposed to learn what I'm doing now. It's not complicated, but it's when teaching people, you need to focus on what they need to do rather than too much information. I can show it, but I'm not sure it will be.
It's behind the scene. It's behind the scene, so you will have an idea of your editing territory. You will not get. You will not have to do it, but you will have an idea how is the editing.
Okay, this is. I'm a bit of a talkative person, so I hope I won't bore you. You can see the game here. This is not this one, not this one, this one. So you have a landing page, and if I'm at the editor, this is called the wizard. This is the introductory text. You can see it here. This is the text appearing here. Okay? If you want to change it, send me any text you want, and I'll replace it. It should be a short text because it's an introductory text. Okay, it can't be too long. Nobody reads long texts, not in mobile at least. This is the logo, the place for a logo. I chose this guy here to be the logo. I duplicated it. If you see the original content I received from Talila or from Jasmine, depending on, it looked like this. Oh, no, it's not this. Yes, it is. So it's this one. I took the text from here, this image, I duplicated it and put it here. So what I should have received, let's say you were a client, I would have received the banner and logo here and this text. Here you have place to put extra points for uploading images or comments. If you want to encourage users to upload more images and more texts, you upload it here. This is called a scene. Can you see what I'm showing?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I did, I took the image from this part of the presentation, and I needed to do a bit of a graphic work because it should be sent in a mobile JPG background. So it wasn't like this, so I solved it. And I did some graphic work, and I have a link here. The same way you upload images to yours. This is the image. I uploaded it, and now it's a background image. I can choose if I'm just showing, if I want a geographical scene, I'm adding a geographical scene. Okay, and if I move content into this scene, I just move one unit of content, so you'll be able to see I moved one of the stations to this scene. I'll save it. And I'm refreshing. So we have the original scene, and now the first station, which was at the gate, is currently in another place. It's here. So when speaking of geographical scenes, it looks like this. Since we have only one station, it zooms in to the exact place. So I uploaded the image, and then I placed, in this case it's called clusters, because I thought all of these belong to one ID, and they are called clusters, and I put them here, and I've changed the icon. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
And I just created the icons. It doesn't take long, or found them on the internet. If I'm adding a new one, it looks like this. Okay, there are three modes. One, if it's not touched. The second is when it's opened and not claimed. And the third is after it's claimed. Okay? Too much information? Is it relevant for you now? Am I on my own?
No, it's quite, it's all right.
Okay. And then I drag and drop each icon to the right place. At this point, Jasmine asked me, why does it look like this? And I'm showing you the game again. I don't want it to look like a list, even though it's not that bad, I must say. If you replace when I'm a user and I'm entering the museum, I don't know whether it's big or not. I can look for this element in the museum, but she wanted to have a map of the museum. So Jasmine, by any chance you have any map of the museum?
Yeah, give me some seconds. I'm searching for it.
Okay, so we'll wait 1 second or more.
I think she's a minute. I will share with you the photos that she sent me in a minute.
Oh, Jasmine is here. She can send us.
It takes me some while. Can you?
You can send just any map you find, and we'll change it afterwards.
Yeah, that's the issue. I'm not on my working computer. Can you move ahead and I'll search for it because I can't.
Okay, I'll just do it now, and you'll see. So if you're still interested, I don't know. I didn't want to bother you with all this information. So I decided that I want to create a new scene. So this will be the main map. And I must say that Jasmine's game is very elaborated. It has a lot of details, more than I'm playing, because there is a lot of content. So this will be the main map. And the new scene I've just created will be called, just wait a second, I know the name. I was given the name, the Zeigel. Yes, very nice name.
Very German.
So I just called the scene the right way. You are supposed to play on a single map, on a single scene, but since she needs something else, I'll do it. And I just upload some background image that is relevant to her
I
game.
sent you to the mail, Shani.
Okay.
Suche, here it is.
If it's too much information, you can just מה שלחת לי?
שתי תמונות. The printing room and the...
No, but you're sending the room. I need the map.
Yeah, one second. Now I'm on the way. I'm on the way.
It doesn't, it's not, thank you, Talila.
It's too small though. I just
for context. I'll choose, this is huge. I look for something smaller. Okay.
How can I send it to you, Shani?
By email.
Send it to me. Send it. No, a minute. I will write his mail here.
I've got your mail, Talila.
In the meanwhile, I just uploaded a map, never mind of what. As you remember, it needs to be horizontal. Okay? Yeah. And I'm moving the stations from where they are now. You see them here, and
it's out.
So now it's not here. I'm taking this anchor and I'm telling him to go from the main map to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Usually there should be one station that is introductionary to the house if you want, and then it skips automatically to this place, but we are using in this case an anchor, and I've saved it. If it has a number, does it have a number?
Well,
Jasmine?
Like, yeah, it's 5. It's number 5.
Okay, so I'm just using the web now. I don't create the icon. I saw one a minute ago. It will be this one.
Пожалуйста.
It's not a perfect design, but it will stand for now. And you sent me the image?
Yeah,
it will take me about 10 minutes more to generate. No, didn't arrive yet. Okay, we'll wait a few more minutes. Yeah? Who are you and how did you get here?
It's always a bad question for computer work.
Yes.
I sent...
and so it will soon arrive. They are hiding somewhere here. I'm placing them until the right image arrives.
Yeah.
I don't know which icons, if I should change them or not. And I save the game. Most museums do work with this interface, but when I'm going back to the game, you will see the change very fast. You see now how it looks different now? And when I'm pressing number 5, I'm at the map. Why didn't this happen? Okay, I remember. It has new tags. They don't appear because the tagging wasn't complete or for some other reason.
לא, כי אתה בתוך משחק. You're already in the game. You have to wait for the new game, no? To start. Can you edit the game while it's working?
Comme ci, comme ça. Yes, I can edit, but
you try to cheat your own.
All the explanations. It's not appearing yet. I don't know why currently it doesn't appear. Tags, all tags are here. I'm testing the game. You can test it yourself now. No, I don't know what's wrong yet. Are there any tags in the station?
Like,
all the stations are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. They are all in the game. I know.
לא עשית את זה.
No. I'll show you now a glimpse of a memory. Sorry, it took me a minute. You remember the missing station? This is called dependencies.
Okay.
Now it will work. Okay, what I defined, you can see here that stations, music, printed history, sign for the future, blah, 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 will appear only after you complete measure the mass. Okay? So when I'm at the game, I have to first do this station. And it wants me to register. Okay. Because in order to upload images, you need to register. Once I've uploaded an image, tick, it turns me to the right map and everything opens. Okay? So now I'll explain what
you will be able to use it as well in your puzzle. Like if you want an introduction station that everybody will experience.
And now I'll explain what I did. This is the gamification. I told the game, after this station, which is called Measure the Mass, but it should have been introductionary station to
It's like double. It reads like double E. Ziegenbad. It's a long.
Ziegenbad house. I told him after you complete the introductory station to Ziegenbad house, please take me to the scene called Ziegenbad house. But I also told the game that unless you complete this station, you can't see these stations. If it was a linear game, it would have looked like this. Instead of this one, I would have written okay, so printed in history will appear only after music to go, and sign for the future will appear only after printed in history, and condensed will appear only after, and soon you will see it in the game. And we'll see if the email arrived with the right map. No? Jasmine, did you send me a map?
I sent it to
אני,
Talila.
תסתכל במייל האחרון ממנה, תסתכל רגע.
אין, לא הגיע,
לא,
תמיד.
במייל האחרון שאני שלחתי. הוא לא הגיע עכשיו? לא?
לא.
בפרזנטיישן שלה תפתח את הפרזנטיישן שלה.
In your...
אתה לא יכול לבודד את התמונה. שנייה. זה מוזר, אני שלחתי לך.
Never mind. We'll deal with the map afterwards. I hope your imagination still works. So now when I refresh the game, and I'll show you how it works, I have this station. I complete it. I hope this is the right session. Let's pray. Okay, so you can see only one is available. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
I can't see you, so I need you to say something, otherwise I'm
Yes, we can see it.
And I open the first station, and I have to answer, and the answer is 20, and I answer it, and once I will complete it, the second one appears.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a linear structure, but we won't discuss all gamification elements. We could have said, let them all open after the first one, let only 2 open after the first one. So when you send me the information, tell me what's the sequence. A leads to B, C, C leads to D, E, okay? And just write it down in a Word document or something, preferably with the number of the station.
Okay.
Okay? For EMEC, you don't need to do anything to create if you want to turn it into a puzzle or a hidden image. All I have to do, I go here and I'm sorry. If I decide to turn it into a hidden image,
yes,
I go to this place and I go to game options, auto layout, random, option,
okay.
and I'm calling the puzzle game, and oh, not the main map, oy boy, not good. It should have been this one. It will make a mess. This was silly. Just wait a second. Now MX game, and I'm going to this scene which is not organized anyhow. I'm telling it, build it like this.
Okay.
And pick. And when I save it, the dependency rules will make a bit of a mess now. Can you see it now?
Yeah. Yes.
It's covering the image because we have dependencies, which means this should appear only after. I can cancel it if you want, so we'll see.
No, that's super cool.
So it's covering, I can show it here.